Hello everyone, and happy World Tourism to all of you tuning in today. My name's Paul Stevens, editor of Short-Term Rentals, and welcome to this Rockstars webinar on the new era of smarter, sustainable, responsible tourism, sponsored by Price Labs and Minute. I'm the host for today's session, and now for a short video from our first Rockstars series sponsor, Price Labs. So please keep your sound on mute and your camera off if you're not speaking. All details will be posted in the chat by my colleagues Joe and Danny. And please do post any questions there you have yourself throughout today's webinar. Finally, a recording will be sent round to everyone after today's session. Now we have one more short video from our second Rockstars series sponsor, Minute, a property monitoring company and co-host that cares for your home, guests, and community.
Dear hosts and property managers, hosting can be difficult, we get it. Watching out for parties, making sure your guests have a wonderful stay, keeping neighbors happy, coordinating cleaning and security staff. We see all the work you do every day, and we want to help. Wouldn't it be great to have a co-host? Someone to welcome your guests when they arrive. Remind them about house rules when they're getting a bit too loud. Keep your home safe when they leave. We're Minute, the co-host that helps you care for your home, guests, and community. We come highly recommended. We're reliable and we're eager to help. So let us be your co-host today. With love, Minute.
So let's introduce our Rockstars lineup for today, and we're going to kick off with Emanuele from Fairbnb.coop. Take it away, Emanuele. Oh.
Hi, everyone. So the usual mute.
We're still doing it after 2 years, aren't we? Yeah, please introduce yourself.
Yes. Hi, I'm Emanuele Carlo from Venice, Italy. I'm one of the co-founder of Fairbnb.coop. Our initiative started more like an advocacy project, a grassroots movement from people who was, as citizens of very touristic city like Venice, directly affected both positively and negatively by the big changes in our industry. And initially, we were people mainly from Barcelona, Amsterdam, Venice, this big city that have been on the headlines of the debate about the impact, especially of short-term rentals. And therefore, we started at the beginning to investigate the issue. And then we tried to come out with some proposal on how to mitigate the negative effect and maximize the positive effect of this disruption in the accommodation market. And at the end, we decided that the best way to do it was by example. So we said, why don't we design what we think would be a responsible and socially sustainable platform? And so here we are with our MVP that is based on 3 simple concepts: lawfulness, regenerative reinvestment of the money in proceedings from tourism, and social responsibility. And we launched just before COVID. We were reminiscing the last couple of years, a few minutes ago. It was a good moment for us to rethink a lot of things. And now we are back out with our MVP and we are ready to test the market.
Thank you, Emanuele, and we'll be hearing more about Fairbnb.coop shortly. Next up, we have Judy, please.
Good evening, everyone, from Kenya. in East Africa. My name is Judy Kepher-Gona, founder of Sustainable Travel and Tourism Agenda, which is a movement to create sustainable tourism practitioners, to mold them, to mentor them, to support them, so that together we can change mindsets in tourism towards sustainable tourism. We basically work with knowledge management. We mine information, we generate information, we organize information, and then we share it out in different spaces for different audiences, because we believe that no one should be left behind in the sustainable tourism movement. The tourism sector is huge. It is an influencer in many African destinations, but it also has many challenges, particularly challenges related to destination resilience, related to natural and cultural assets and management. It has challenges on ethical issues. It has challenges of inclusion of people in tourism, and just also in the value chain. It has challenges of organizing information, because there's a chase for numbers and there's a chase for people. And so there is selection on the information that goes into the market. We are here as an organization that says the traveler has a right to know everything about the destination, not just about its beauty. In equal measure, the business owner has a responsibility to disclose information, not just to the traveler, but also to the business partners and the business community. So we want to enable, empower, and equip these audiences and the tourism and stakeholders in the tourism sector so that they can respond to the concept of sustainability.
Thank you, Judy. I'm delighted to have you on as well. You're tuning in from the Masai Mara as well today, so we're very excited to have you. Next up, we have Tessa, please, from Expedia Group.
Yeah, hi. Good morning, everyone from New York. I'm Tessa Lee. I'm the Senior Manager of Climate and Sustainability at Expedia Group. From the name, I'm sure everyone recognizes Expedia.com. Expedia Group is a family of brands, which includes Hotels.com, Orbitz, and Vrbo, from the vacation rentals market. Expedia is one of the world's first online travel agencies, OTAs. We were founded over 25 years ago with a mission for democratizing travel for everyone, everywhere, and really a core belief that travel is a force for good. A few weeks ago, it was really exciting. Our continued commitment at the next phase of this vision was reaffirmed with the release of our first global social impact and sustainability strategy. We're in the process now of developing our first climate action transition plan, stemming from our having signed the Glasgow Declaration on Climate Action in Tourism last April. So we've got 12 months to put that plan out. And already I want to echo a lot of what Judy said, where we're thinking about this, this whole topic from empowerment, from an information, a trust, a disclosure question, how can, across all of our portals, how can we empower travelers with the information they need, as well as destinations and travel product providers. But thank you for having us today.
Thank you, Tessa. And finally, we have Vanessa, please. Oh, sorry, we're on mute again, Vanessa.
It's been a while. Sorry. Hi, I'm Vanessa. I'm a vacation rental tech entrepreneur. I founded an OTA back in the days, sadly not as successful as Expedia. And later on a channel manager called Rentalz United, which is a channel manager distribution platform just for vacation rentals. And in the last 8 months, I went into the world of sustainability and tried to make sense out of it and see how we can apply, how we can come together as a vacation rental industry and contribute to a better world. And so I came up with the first vacation rental sustainable certification, which I look forward to hearing all about in a bit.
Thank you, Vanessa. So thank you again to all of you. So in terms of some context behind today's discussion, We're going to be looking at how a number of cities or countries are calling for more regulation of short-term rentals, particularly in Europe, where we're seeing rental regulations supposedly being considered across the bloc. We'll also be looking at how the OTAs are responding to these issues as well, with Expedia Group unveiling, as Tessa just said there, their enhanced social impact and sustainability strategy. And finally, we'll be learning more about Emanuele's business, Fairbnb.coop, after raising €1 million in a fundraising campaign. And Emanuele was also named our Ones to Watch piece for the year ahead. So I've got an audience question that I want to put. So if you have any thoughts, then please do pop them in the chat function from now. And it's, how can we develop a sustainable travel ecosystem that benefits tourists and local communities alike? So please do post your thoughts in the chat function throughout, and we will certainly be getting into those shortly. So Emanuele, if you could just start us off. You've told us a little bit about Fairbnb.coop already. I know you're recognised by the European Commission as well, but from your own perspective, what actually makes a responsible, ethical, sustainable traveller, if you can fit that into a definition of some sort?
Well, I think there's something that the last years are teaching us, is that as consumers, are users of platform, we have the power of choice more often than not. That there are obviously platform that tends to become almost monopolistic in certain markets, but I think that this is something that is starting to become embedded in the mind of people. They're choosing their goods, they're choosing their services, thinking beyond the actual face value or the use of the service of all the tools. This, for example, is having a great impact in the automotive market, as we see a lot of people is choosing hybrid, electric, sometimes as a statement, because I mean, it's still debatable what is the real impact, of hybrid electric in terms of ecology, but I think it marks the concept that if there is an offer, and if the offer is easy to access, then people may be drawn to make what we at least generally consider the right choice. But this is only half of the problem, let's say, or of the solution. I think on the other end, we need also to address quite, let's say, urgently, the aspect on the platform side, on the offer side, on the industry. There are a lot of efforts of providing services that are referring to the wider concept of sustainability, or let's say carbon footprint, all sorts of this. But I think that at the moment, how can I say, the demand from the user is not met with enough offering from the platform side. There is still a lot to do from the supply part in terms of meeting the needs of these new customers that are arriving in the market.
Yeah, and you talked there about on the platform side of it. That's also part of the awareness for the wider consumers as well. So, from your experience, how aware of what sustainable tourism actually is? How aware do you think the majority of travellers, particularly those maybe staying in short-term rentals, are generally?
Well, it's quite difficult to say. I think if you read the reports, for example, there was an interesting report from Booking.com recently, I think not older than 3-4 months ago, that was stating that nearly 80% of the people, if presented with a sustainable alternative, they would gladly make the choice. And that's why I stress the fact that you need to have a sustainable alternative. The point is that I think that is still very vague, the concept, and a lot of the time sustainability is just interpreted as an ecological choice. The power of the climate change, the urgency that we all feel, trying to, like, we have this tunnel vision that sustainability is mainly of CO2 or plastic or recycling, all these kind of things, which are, I can't stress it enough, super important. I don't want to trivialize a very pressing issues, but sustainability is a much bigger and holistic approach. You can't forget that you can be as sustainable and green as you want, but if you forget that you impact the life of millions of people with your industry, you're not sustainable enough. And it's just not just enough to plant trees for each travel or to recycle whatever. If you plant trees and then you displace people, you're not sustainable. And so I think we need to make the industry and the public more aware of what does it mean sustainability. And there is a professor, I forgot the name, but it will come. He was saying sustainability can only be holistic, otherwise it's not sustainable. So, and this I think is the next stage. I mean, all the movement about climate and about ecology has been immensely important to drive the change in the right direction. And now to get everybody on board on this concept and say, there's more. And you have to look at other aspects of sustainability.
Thank you, Emanuele. And another person I think is well placed to talk about this is Judy, because we've said already in that little introduction, you do training on sustainable tourism issues, benchmarking, reporting, etc. So, from your perspective as well, what makes a responsible, ethical, sustainable traveler? What are the ingredients behind this?
Well, thank you very much. I agree 100% that sustainability is a holistic approach to tourism management, and it goes way beyond the ecology. I think the best framework to borrow from will be the International Standards Organization. I think, if I'm not wrong, it's ISO 16000 that has the 7 core areas of sustainability. Those 7 core areas of sustainability, you can divide them further, each and every one of them, into 3 or more components, and end up with almost 25 or 28 areas of sustainability. For example, if you were to look at one of the core areas presented by the ISO standard, is fair trade. A fair trade is so wide in itself. It's not just about buying goods at fair prices. Fair trade is also asking how those goods were produced, who was behind it, was that labor fair? So under fair trade only, you could end up with 10 other sub-issues that have to be addressed. But the 7 core areas of sustainability, I think for me, is the most comprehensive approach to breaking down sustainability for consumers, for industry. But unfortunately, I will not go into the areas, but they include the environment, they include the fair trade, they include good governance, they have issues around labor, they have issues around relationship with the community. They have 2 other elements that just escaped me, but there are 7 of them, and they're very comprehensive. The problem is a lot of people want to choose what to call sustainability for their own convenience. It has become a topic of convenience, and companies are talking about what is more convenient and easy to do. So they float around what they find easy to do, what does not cost them much. They don't feel the pinch of it. They don't have to invest as much, but they can milk it dry. They spend so little and get as much mileage from it as possible. And for this reason, many businesses have confused the market, completely confused the market. to start thinking that, oh, so our sustainability is about planting trees, right? So if this company says we planted so many thousand trees in 2021, then they're a sustainable business because they changed their electricity system to a solar system, and they didn't tell you what targets they were looking at, what they were addressing. They probably changed it because it was for business convenience. And yes, sustainability should bring you convenience. But when it is for convenience, communicate it in exactly the same way that we did this for business convenience, and it is good for environment. Because I always say sustainability is good for people, and it is good for the environment, and it is good for business. And so when you have done it for each of these reasons, communicate it clearly so that we don't have the market confused about what sustainability is all about. All businesses have a good idea of what sustainability is, but they cherry pick what they want to communicate and what they want to do. And that is confusing the market.
Thank you very much, Judy. And we'll come back to you shortly to learn a little bit more about what you're doing with STTAKenya and your goals there. But I want to first move to Tessa as well. I think everyone here tuning in will have heard of Expedia Group. You're one of the world's first OTAs, and you've been around, I believe, for more than 25 years now as well. I think one of your straplines as well is about democratizing the world of travel as well. So could you tell us what your thoughts are? You've heard two of our other panelists already. What do you think makes a responsible, sustainable, ethical traveler?
Sure. Well, I think so. I'm lucky in a sense in that in my position, I do get to focus primarily on climate and GHGs, but the team I'm on, the social impact and sustainability team, and the strategy that we've released is looking holistically at these issues. So along with our call it the Prosperous Planet, so our real environmental focused pillar, we're looking at inclusive access, so ensuring that all travelers and underrepresented travelers have an equal ability to enjoy the benefits of travel and tourism. And we're also looking at economic mobility and economic advancement for underrepresented travel businesses and travel entrepreneurs and small and local businesses, so to ensure that the economic gains of travel and tourism industry are spread around more evenly and more equitably. And so together, those pillars make up our social impact and sustainability strategy. And I think that's the same ethos, that kind of holistic ethos that we want to communicate to travelers. So I think what makes a responsible traveler, all humans, the vast majority of humans want to do good, but do we know how? And so Expedia Group really sees our role in providing that information. How can we be a conduit from local destinations to incoming travelers about the specifics? Again, from my environmental hat, is it water stress? Is it wildfire risk? Is it how to interact with nature and wildlife? Is it how to trash and refuse questions in that local destination? That's the conduit of the kind of information that we want to provide. And likewise, how to be respectful in the communities that you're visiting, that you're interacting with. Increasingly, I've been a climate professional for a long time, working on corporate sustainability. And I think in the last few years, we've really seen the spotlight pivoting to travel and tourism. It's gone through other industries in terms of consumer skepticism. Is this good or is this bad? Is this something I should avoid if I'm concerned about my climate impact, for example? But I do believe, and Expedia does believe, that travel is a force for good. It's for cultural connections. It's for maintaining our families and our global communities. And on the environment, it can fund conservation projects. It can fund green infrastructure in communities. And so we want to make sure that that's where the industry is headed. So for us, again, really focused on that information piece to empower our travelers to be responsible and sustainable when they arrive.
Thank you, Tessa. And we'll probably touch a little bit more on your background very shortly as well when we come to discussing your strategy. I'll come to that shortly, but to Vanessa as well, you've launched what you describe as being the first sustainability certification for vacation rentals. So, how do you see this concept? What is the idea of a responsible, ethical, sustainable traveller?
Well, I think after what Judy said, I'm going to rename it to an eco badge as opposed to sustainability certification. It started off very big, looking at ESGs of property managers, and I've now decided to really reduce it to the E in ESG, because what I found from my own research, not coming from the sustainability world at all, but my own research in the last 8 months, is that people and businesses need a way to start going into this world, and everything I read was extremely confusing. Where do one start? So I decided to really simplify it and give a way for property owners to change their homes and also monitor guests on their water, electricity, and gas consumption, and give this in real time back to them in order to sensibilize them, to make them reduce, to involve guests in helping us reduce consumption, which I think we have, in vacation homes, we have a great opportunity, because as you are in a home environment, and get influenced as to what can be done in order to reduce your consumption, you can apply those learnings when you go back home. That plus, if you ask me what a responsible traveler is, well, I think traveling in a private accommodation, a vacation rental, is inherently more sustainable. It's a more sustainable accommodation option. One, because there's resource utilization. Empty homes is simply wasting resources. So homes can be served for a purpose. And also it empowers homeowners with opportunities to fill unused space and to subsidize monthly bills. Also, and as Brian Chesky was saying just recently, we have an opportunity to disperse tourism because we decrease traffic and overall impact on the environment by having hotels are distributed across a lot. Vacation rentals are distributed across a larger geographic area. So unlike hotels, we're usually in the middle of city centers, etc. So we can help smaller communities thrive by staying in vacation rentals. And obviously, we use already less energy in vacation rentals. We don't have this massive lawn to water. We don't have 24 hours electricity on. We only have one washing machine in the home, etc. And also saying that, lastly, that responsible travelers, they're more responsible in a home environment because they're more likely to do things like to do at home, like turn off the lights, etc. And sort waste, etc., etc. So, yeah, all in all, encouraging tourists to be part of the solution, I think, is the key. And the vacation rentals have, a good place here to influence people.
Thank you, Vanessa. And Judy, you've heard there Vanessa talking about, it's making people aware of sustainability as a key issue within travel. And from your perspective at STTAKenya, we can learn a little bit about your mission as well with your organisation. But how important is it through your work to educate the new generation of travellers coming through?
I think the future and the real impact of sustainability lies in the next generation of travelers. I have nothing against the current generation of travelers, but there's a number of them who have traveled in old ways and they're finding it too hard to change to the new ways of travel. But there's a new generation of travel that can be mentored and molded to start responding to everything that all of us have said the right things about how travelers can be engaged, how they can be informed, how they can become part of the solution. And I find that the younger generation is more responsive to the call and the concept of sustainability. And so because of that, one of the solutions that my organization is working with is to engage as many youth as possible. So in 2017, we launched the STTA, those are the initials of the organization, the STTA Young Changemakers Initiative, and we went into the universities because that's where they are going to come out of there, either as tourism professionals or even as travelers and other professionals in other areas with disposable income for travel. So we started the STTA Changemakers program with 17 universities in Kenya. And since 2017, we have been doing a monthly seminar at these universities without fail. The message has to be repeated. I believe in pedagogy. So we are saying it from the time you are in year 1 until you are in year 4. You have had it so much, whether you're a student of engineering, of tourism, of whatever, of medicine, you have had it so much. You have seen these posters so many times at the university. You have seen this announcement so many times that the next time you travel, you'll be thinking, what was that about sustainable tourism? Can I be one of them? And so we have impacted this community of youth in universities since 2017 by allowing them to debate the issues around sustainability themselves. We don't go there and tell them, now we want to tell you this about sustainability. We tell them this is an issue in sustainability. We want to hear your perspectives. How can it work for the traveler? How can it work for business? How can it work for policy? So we are influencing them as policymakers. If they end up in policy, they will make the right policies. If they end up in tourism businesses, they will run ethical businesses. If they end up as travelers, they will remember the responsibility of a traveler. I was excited to learn that until now, we have done more than 93 seminars in our universities, talking nothing but sustainable travel and tourism. And there is a generation going out of these universities that now has an idea and understanding anything from dark tourism and how to deal with it. Because yes, there's tourism that is thriving on dark history. If you're faced with this kind of offer, how do you deal with it? What are the ethical questions that you are supposed to ask yourself? So we are opening up their minds around everything and every question that a traveler can ask, what businesses can do, how policy can influence this. And we intend to continue. This is one of the programs that is closest to my heart. I say, if I want to leave any legacy of my career, I want to have influenced 10,000 young people to become sustainability ambassadors, as travelers, as policymakers, as people in tourism and other businesses. And it can be done.
Thank you, Judy. I think that's a very noble principle to live through with your organisation as well. So we're very grateful to hear that. And I saw all of the other panelists nodding along as you were speaking there. I think it aligns quite well, Tessa, with your social impact and enhanced sustainability strategy as well. And I know that you're that's underpinned by 3 main pillars. So could you tell us actually a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I'm heading up one of the 3, the Prosperous Planet pillars, so very focused on a net zero future for our own business, as well as for the travel industry, on the climate topic. We're also looking at inclusive access for all types of travelers, no matter your travel need, no matter who you are, that you have a safe, but also an enjoyable, a rewarding experience, that you trust that you can get that and that you do receive that. And then finally, diversifying kind of the economic benefits of travel to local businesses, to underserved entrepreneurs. And to me, that's a very holistic way of looking at how we can improve the whole industry. It's systems thinking for the travel industry to, I'll say it again, ensure that travel remains a force for good. Picking up on, I think Emanuele mentioned, we need both demand and supply. So one thing that Expedia Group looks at is how do we reward we've always looked at how do we reward the travel providers, the industry providers who give our customers, our travelers, the best experience. And so increasingly, we're going to be looking at how sustainability and responsible and inclusive travel extends to that concept of what the best experience is, and who are the supply partners that we seek to reward. And that, again, that our travelers can trust that we send them to those best experiences.
Thank you. And you sort of said before as well, you're working with a couple of other organizations as well. Can you tell us a little bit how that actually shapes part of your vision for the future?
Sure. So there's two I want to highlight. Back in April, we joined the Travelist Coalition. So that's right now basically a pre-competitive collaborative working group. They talk about co-opetition, I think is a new buzzword I've been hearing, to work together of the major OTAs to standardize the way we define sustainability for our different business lines, for vacation rentals, for hotels, on aviation, and therefore to standardize both the information that we present to customers, because all the research out there, all the market research shows that the travelers are confused, but the travelers, they want it. We even had our study earlier this year showing that travelers are willing to sacrifice. They're willing to pay a little bit more. They're willing to stay a little bit further away, be a little less comfortable if they can know confidently that they're making more sustainable choices. And so within Travelist, things I'm really excited about that I think face both towards the industry and to the providers, as well as to travelers themselves, is how we're standardizing and aligning those definitions. So if you're a vacation rental or a hotel, you can give all the OTAs the same information about what you're doing on sustainability, and then we'll display that the same way to travelers. So we won't be asking similar things in different ways. It makes it a lot easier to collect the data. It sends a more clear signal to hotels and vacation rental owners of what they should be doing, improve efficiencies and switch to LED lighting, all these things, but it's clear, it's laid out, and it's consistent. So I'm really excited about being in Travelist. More recently, the other partnership I want to touch on, Expedia Group, we're global. So one of my issues, it's a blessing and a curse, is to think about how to do something that's applicable to 3 million listings across our site around the world from such diverse providers. And so we recently announced that we're working with the Travel Foundation and targeting DMOs, so destination marketing organizations, to become climate champions. I'm really excited about this because I think that allows us to localize our global scope in a way, and to use those DMOs as nodes to then to translate capacity building and education to smaller local operators like vacation rental owners who are going to need that locally specific voice and that locally specific information. So we're really excited about that partnership as well.
Thank you, Tessa. Vanessa, you mentioned, Sustonica, I believe it's in the process of launching.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about what that launch involves? Why now, and why launch this for the industry?
Yes, well, why now? So, as I said, I think it's a very new topic for us in the vacation rental world. And we've had one champion who's been talking about it for a few years, but really there has not been, it's not been a focus point. And so it's about time that we take up this discussion, that we talk about it at conferences, that we have webinars like yours, and also that we start doing something for real. So this is where I come in with the certification, which really it's a way of standardizing, as Tessa was saying, to give points of how one can become, in this case, in particular, environmentally friendly. And I'm working with Travelist to get their data points in order to, not cross over, because, in the hotel industry, there's about 200 plus certifications. We don't want to start off that way in the vacation rental industry. We really want to immediately start off well and have one clear message for everyone. So this then this is step one, is to see, how eco-friendly is your vacation home? What can you do to improve it? And then step 2, which I think is quite innovative, is to actually meter the water, the gas, and the electricity consumption in the home, and to have actual data, not stats about how much energy consumption is, but actual data per guest. And this is then fed back to the guests, and they can see real time on an iPad in the home how much they're consuming, and they're encouraged with persuasive communication to reduce their consumption prior to arrival and during their stay. So with this amount of data, I think we'll be able to benchmark ourselves and to really move this forward. Now, I am launching this because the technology has been used in vacation rental, in B&Bs and guest houses, and has proven to reduce that guests that are submitted to this communication reduce their electricity consumption by 27%, their water consumption by 22%, and their gas consumption by 22% as well. So it has worked in different environments, but we don't have any case studies for the vacation rental world. So this is where I come in, and I'm looking for pilot property managers and owners who would want to pilot this with me. And as we have conclusive data, we will be giving this to the rest of the world. And I should add that this technology, which exists already, can also charge guests for their electricity, for their consumption, either for the full consumption or up to level. So this is really interesting because we're at a time when obviously there's very high cost in bills, and many property owners are thinking of renting long term because of the increased cost in consumption. So there you go. That's the plan.
Thank you, Vanessa. It's good to hear more about that, and we'll be hearing more about Sustonica very soon, I'm sure. Emanuele, I think it's a really interesting business model that you've got, and a phrase that I hear quite a lot, and I've been on your website and we've covered Fairbnb.coop quite a few times, this idea of community-powered tourism. I know you've got a specific commission model as well. Could you, for the benefit of our audience, explain a little bit about what your business model is and what your goals eventually are?
Sure. Well, when we talk about community-powered tourism, we actually refer to the fact that our growth model is based on the constraints that we only operate where we have people in the place, where we interact with locals. Because one of the main issues that we were facing at the beginning when we were evaluating the market, we're saying, we don't think platform or online businesses are good or evil per se. Most of the time, they don't understand really what is the real impact on the life of people. They see the big picture, they see the numbers, they obviously have necessity of a big turnaround to satisfy the venture capital. We totally understand that, but they don't understand how they really touch the life of people in good and bad. I mean, when we talk about stakeholders, it's a big word in the planet. Usually we think about our investors, our users, we forget that there are a lot of indirect stakeholders, which is the people, the neighbor of the host that are on your platform, the local businesses disrupted by the logistics of tourists moving around. There was a good example from somebody of our organization that was working in a chocolate factory. Just give you a quick information. And they say they have to completely change the route of their lorries because the place where they were operating was becoming a touristic destination. And basically they couldn't work out the logistic in an efficient way. So our approach is that we can't start operating in a community if we don't investigate thoroughly regulations, let's say, the socio-demographic picture, how are we going to impact this? Even one host, sometimes more, can damage the local community. And understand also what are the social projects that needs to be funded. There's no point to decide it from top. No, we always say jokingly to our local ambassador when they approach, which kind of social projects should I search for? I say, it's not up to us to decide. It's up to our local ambassador. They are the people that have to get in touch with their community and understand what the community needs. And so community power tourism for this is the first part. So getting the business, adapt the business to the needs of the local community. And the second part is redistributing the wealth caused by tourism in a regenerative way. I think tourism is an amazing industry. I mean, it's got so many positive values, makes people meet. I think if everybody was a traveler more than a tourist, there wouldn't be war, because you can't fight with people you love and you met around the world. No, so I mean, tourism is such a great opportunity for opening your mind. But at the same time, we don't, as users and as a platform, we don't expect from tourism the same standard of, let's say, lawfulness, social responsibility that we expect from other businesses. I mean, only 5 years ago, when we started this, 30% of the hosts that were present on the online platform in Venice, my city, were unknown to the local tax office. I mean, you wouldn't buy on Amazon if you knew that 30% of the people that were selling there were crooks. And in tourism, we kind of give it like, it's okay, we don't really mind, we don't really care if our host pays taxes, we don't care if he's registered, we don't care if he pays the tourist tax or just keeping the money for itself and something like that. So this is a big hole on my opinion, and that's only if you have people that live in the place and can tell the platform, look, guys, I mean, I'm glad you're making money, but this is not the right way to do it. Then you can kind of break the system that is not serving the people in the correct way. I give you one last figure just to give you an idea on why it's important the platform understand the place. Before COVID, last quarter 2019, in Venice, there were 12,000 short-term rentals, 12,000. I mean, these are, okay, who cares? In Berlin, there were 50,000. I mean, people can, Venice is 3 by 3 kilometers, and there's a pool of 38,000 houses available. You can't build in Venice, as you know, there are water. Okay, so you can build more houses, and everything is
sort of tourist tax as well. We were talking about ticket, I think you mentioned.
Yeah, that's why they're thinking. So when you have 12,000 houses on 38,000, it means that nobody at the platform side has started to think, maybe 10,000 is. I mean, we shouldn't have 11,000. Maybe 10,000 is too much. Maybe 5,000 is the. I'm sure that nobody wants to be evil when they do business, but I'm sure that if they get more on the ground and they really talk to the people, they really understand how they affect the local communities, everything would benefit from it. And you can only do that if you take a bit of the chunk of your wealth and you invest it in having local people explaining as it is, but not let's say, employees that say, yes, everything is good, business is great. People that actually talk and see also, do the David's advocate for your company. This is what we ask to our local ambassador.
Vanessa, I know you're raising your hand there, and you're seeing sort of similar mass tourism or over tourism, whatever people want to call it in Barcelona. What did you want to add on to Emanuele?
Well, no, I'm surprised because, you know, obviously good tourism is regulated tourism. So we've been regulated for quite some time. And most cities in Europe are regulated. Some would call the regulations fair, others not. But we need the local associations to fight for us. It's really important that we do advocacy as an industry. And I'm surprised that in Venice, this hasn't happened yet. You know, this is what we need. We need people to stand up and to lobby the government and to say, you know, we actually want regulation. It's not that we don't want regulation, the professionals in the industry. We want fair regulation. It's good for everyone. So yeah, I was just surprised that Venice is only now introducing new rules, because in the rest of Europe, we've had quite a bit of rules.
Tessa, just to go on the back of that as well, it's kind of almost a little bit of a complicated relationship there, because how is Expedia Group grappling with the concept of tourism and also encouraging the industry to be responsible overall? Of course, you've launched this new strategy, but how do you view that overall?
Sure, and some of that we're still in the design and assessment phase of kind of, there's so many needs here. There's R&D for new airline fuels. You know, that's not going to be Expedia's role. So we're still better building out and developing kind of what interventions and what programming Expedia Group is kind of best placed to lead on and where will be most impactful. But I think on this notion of, you know, over tourism is kind of one of the questions here coming up for how like Barcelona and Venice, for example, have struggled. So much of that is a question of infrastructure. Any quantity of tourists might be too many if there's not the infrastructure in place in the destination to support them. That's one thing. And so how can tourism be a catalyst for creating green infrastructure in places that need more infrastructure, you know, which is going to be more resilient and hopefully more economical for both residents and tourists. And a lot of that also, though, is being receptive to what we're told. So how do we work? Again, spoke about our deep partnerships with a lot of destinations around the world. You know, how do we work with them to hear what they need from their tourists? And is it send tourists to, you know, other options instead of everybody going to the same place? Is it, you know, educate tourists to behave in this or that different way? You know, there's a lot we can do around incentivizing and communication education. And so we're trying to understand what those behaviors or those traveler actions are that we can incentivize and that we can reward. Again, I think changing this whole industry, it's going to be a question of both supply and demand. We need a greater supply, a greater quantity, and a greater quality of sustainable travel options, sustainable vacation rentals, sustainable hotels, sustainable activities, and we need demand for those things. And so how can Expedia Group kind of keep that information flow going and show the supply what the demand is, and vice versa? That's where we're looking, but it's tricky. I don't think this is going to change overnight. But we've seen, as a climate professional, sometimes it can be easy to be stressed about the nature of the crisis. But I also think back at how fast things have changed in the last 10 years in terms of just renewable electricity rollouts and prices coming down. So many industries have undergone remarkable transformations. And I think travel is really on a tipping point as we rebound from the pandemic. And as people are thinking differently about their role as travelers, I think we're really at a tipping point to see some real change here.
Thank you, Tessa. Judy as well. We've got a couple of minutes left, so I want to pack in as much as we can these last few minutes. And I know we've got a question as well, but Judy, is over tourism or mass tourism, these are terms that have been bandied about quite recently, but is it a global tourism challenge? Is it something that's related to specific destinations? Is there like what is the kind of obstacle? What have we got to do to counteract that, if you like?
Thank you. I believe that, sorry, I'm not able to use my
No,
video.
that's absolutely fine.
I believe that over-tourism is a global challenge. The degree of its impact in different places will vary because of many factors that we've had from all these excellent speakers who understand this subject very well. Now, from our perspective, we say that ecotourism can happen anywhere, anytime. And this is because anytime that tourism suffocates local people or the environment, it is over-tourism. If one bed or one vacation or one hotel is one too many for a place and it begins to alter the lives of the people, it begins to suffocate them. By suffocate, we mean that they begin to feel like they're being squeezed out of their spaces and their daily lives and their traditions and their lifestyles by tourism, then it is by all means over-tourism. If it is beginning to suffocate the natural environment and begins to alter the way the natural environment operates, it is over-tourism. So anything that creates a significant imbalance, any tourism that creates a significant social imbalance or creates a significant environmental imbalance is over-tourism. If we look at this way, I believe, then we will not have the arguments of how many more people are good for this place, or oh no, this is just crowding and this is not over-tourism, the places are just crowded. The simple thing is, are the local people, the communities, the hosts, the residents, can they breathe without seeing tourism everywhere, left, right, and center? Can the environment breathe without being suffocated by tourism? If any of this feels suffocated, we have over-tourism.
Thank you, Judy. We've got a couple of minutes. I do want to get in as many of your thoughts as possible and also answer this question. So I'm going to tie in this question with Donna's question here with a last final thoughts from all of you. And Donna's saying, how do we counteract the inherent issue of how we got there as well? So, you know, have we got any steps or advice for the audience of how to sort of counteract these issues and be more, and advice to being more sustainable looking forward as well? So Emanuele, do you want to come in first? If we can just have a brief thought from everyone here before we head off.
I'm not a travel expert in terms of logistics, but my suggestion would be travel more locally, try to discover places you can reach by train, by public transport near to you. I mean, I'm lucky because in Europe, in 2 hours, you can really change your environment a lot. And I can understand there's people that are in part of the world where you have to travel for 2 days in trains to change your environment. But I think there's try to maybe, you don't need to do a city break in every capital of your continent every couple of months. Maybe you can kind of cluster your holiday and try to do as much as you can in short time, so you kind of minimize the impact in terms of flights, and then use more train and public transport, I would say. But I mean, just common sense is not an expert answer.
And Tessa, you know, you're with Expedia Group, you're looking to empower travelers and property managers at the same time. What would be your advice here?
Yeah, I think for travelers, it is that, yeah, that empowerment. You said it. You stole my verb. Empowerment. Voting with your wallet based on education, and so educating yourself. The aviation is not going away. It's a little bit further away from net zero in terms of just the technologies that have to develop, but so many airlines are making really exciting and impressive strides there. And that's another case where travelers have the ability to read up on what maybe your favorite airline is doing. You know, look at what those airlines are doing. Consider a nonstop flight. Maybe it costs a little more, but it's both more convenient and is going to have lower emissions. So there's a lot we can do. And so I think for travelers, the responsibility is with OTAs like Expedia Group to provide you with the information that you can trust, that you can understand, that's not too technical. But it's also out there on the consumer to do some reading, to understand how to vote with your purchases, how to vote with your travels, to shift the industry. And I think there's a lot of power in that, and we're going to see things changing quite quickly.
Thank you, Tessa. And Vanessa, I know a lot of what Sustonica is founded on is about kind of demystifying these whole issues as well, and actually making things less scary, and people can actually introduce changes that are quite easy as well around the home, would you say?
Yes, for sure. Quite easy, and just get them onto their sustainability journey, you know, because it just takes to start. And once you start, then there's a lot we can do. Yeah, I've heard so many hoteliers and vacation rental property managers say, you know, oh, it's going to cost me too much, it's too much time, effort. I don't know where to start. So really, it's about, you know, getting the right start, and bit by bit, you know, go on the sustainability journey. That would be my advice.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Yeah.
I'll leave the final word as well to Judy as well. How important is communication, Judy, when it comes to maintaining or creating a more sustainable travel ecosystem?
Thank you. I think, like I said in my opening remarks, it starts and ends with communication. What the industry communicates is what the consumer consumes. And if we want to confuse them, we will confuse them. If we want to inform them and educate them, we have to be as truthful with our communication and information as possible. We've got to be as open about issues of human value. We should not lie to people about things that are of value. We can play around with our revenues and our numbers and our profits and all those kind of things. But when it comes to things that are important to people, things that people care about, like if I care truly to travel in places that are giving back to their communities, please provide me with truthful and factful information. Don't provide me with information that has been sanitized through PR, because that's what we see. A lot of information that is sanitized through PR. Companies are doing bare minimum, getting professionals to sanitize that information and send it out there. And I innocently will consume that, and I will feel like I have contributed to that destination because they're doing such wonderful, this company is doing such wonderful things. And we know for sure that we have done so little, or we are just scratching the surface, or indeed we are just doing charity. And I say there's nothing wrong with charity, except that charity makes you the king all the time and the recipient the beggar. That's the only problem I have with charity. You can do as much charity, but no, you will always have beggars. You will always have people who will be looking up unto you to do everything, to come again and do it. How about put all that charity together into one valuable investment with their communities that is transformative, other than 100 different pieces of charity to feed your Instagram and feed your tweets and feed your Facebook, because you want a new picture and something different every day, whereas the impact on the ground and the difference that we are making, it's not worth it. So communication, but ethical and truthful communication, will help the travelers to make the right choices. And I believe that when they travel and get the satisfaction, they will tell the story on your behalf. And then we will truly have travel that is transforming destinations. So we must start by changing our communication. We must be ethical about it. We must be truthful about it all the time. I keep saying that to do that, you also must be a listening organization. Tourism needs organizations to listen to voices of people in destination. Listen with a view to understand, listen not to respond. Yeah, because when you're listening to respond and communities say we are being suffocated, you're going to tell them, no, this is a little crowding for a season, it will go away, because you're listening with an intention to respond in a smart way. But if you're listening with an intention to understand, become a listening organization with an intention to understand, then you will be in sync with the communities and the destinations that you will work, and you will find it so easy to communicate properly and ethically and truthfully, because there will be nothing that you are hiding. You will be communicating because you're proud of the places that you work in and the people that you work with. Thank you so much.
There you have it there. A big thank you to all of our contributors, to Emanuele, to Judy, to Tessa and Vanessa. Forgive us for going a few minutes over, but of course it's a very powerful message and we wanted to hear all of your thoughts. And there's so many more questions we could have got through today, but alas, we are out of time. We've just got a couple of quick slides just to run through with you before we finish. We're back next Tuesday, the 4th of October, for our next short-term rentals webinar. That's at the slightly later time of 5 p.m. BST. The session is called Tech Conundrum, Early Adopter or Late to the Party, in collaboration with Hopper Homes. So you don't want to miss this one. You can sign up in the chat or in the QR code provided. For more opportunities to work with us, whether that's webinars, podcasts, extra content, etc., please do contact my colleague Katie, whose details are on screen for you there. Big thank you to Price Labs and Minute for sponsoring this Rockstar series and session. We're going to keep the session open for just another 2 minutes as well for our audience, in case you want to jot down any more information, you want to connect further with our speakers, and I'm sure they'll be happy to speak with you afterwards. Please do contact us via our various channels. Big thank you once again to all of our speakers for giving up your time today, and to everyone who tuned in, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much, everyone.